Assalamualaikum and very good day to all. So in this video, we will discuss on the environmental management and waste utilization in livestock farming. It's for this topic, probably it will repeat some parts in the waste management subject. All right. So let's have a look at topic learning outcome. There are three topic learning outcome. First, you have to able to identify livestock waste and its components, solid and liquid. Second, to describe the physical and chemical composition of different types of livestock manure. Then third, to evaluate the environmental and health implication of improper livestock waste. So for the introduction, livestock farming dia ada banyak sangat isu yang berkaitan dengan environmental. So kita ni peternakan, industri peternakan ni adalah rival kepada environmentalist, right? So livestock industry has a significant environmental footprint due to the greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation, water use and pollution. So isu-isu inilah yang selalu dicakap oleh environmentalist berkata berkenaan dengan livestock industry menyebabkan pemanasan global, menyebabkan deforestation because of nak bina ladang, nak menanam untuk forage kan. And then the utilization of water, dan kalau ada waste yang daripada water tu disalurkan ke dalam sungai yang menyebabkan environmental impact lah kan, right? So menurut beberapa kajian yang mengatakan livestock production is a major contributor to methane and nitrous oxide emission, which are potent greenhouse gases lah. Tapi ada juga yang mengatakan pertanian, iaitu pemeljawapan ataupun sublimation of the fertilizers into the air that cause the depletion of the ozone. Ini yang dia masih ada perdebatan. It's still in debating which or livestock ataupun pertanian yang menyebabkan gas rumah hijau. Alright. So kalau tengok yang ayat ketiga itu, the industry demand for land, feed resources leads to deforestation and water overuse, further exacerbating environmental challenges. So sebab itulah kalau pembukaan ladang baharu biasanya dia memang akan adalah deforestation. Okay, usually kalau you tengok berkenaan dengan forest ni, dia ada primary forest, secondary forest, tertiary forest. Basically kalau untuk new farm kita tak buatlah dekat primary forest tu ataupun virgin forest, kita tak buat dekat situ lah. Okay, sebab benda tu memang akan severely impacting the environment. Okay, now I highlighted 6 issues regarding the livestock farming. First, the greenhouse gas emissions. So basically, we believe that ruminant animals like cattle, sheep, goats produce methane, and this methane contributed by the digestion punya activity. Dia panggil apa? Sun-dry gas, sun-dry gas, which is yang dia kentut, yang dia sendawa, itu yang dikatakan diproduce oleh ruminant animal. So that sekarang ni banyak kajian ke arah untuk mengurangkan production methane daripada lembu dan kambing ni, ataupun ruminant lah, dan dia bermain dengan ataupun dia manipulate nutrition so that the microbes in the rumen akan produce low methane. So kalau tengok ada 100 ekor lembu, akan ada berbeza production of methane untuk setiap seekor tu. Dan ada kajian yang dia ukur seekor-seekor dan dia ambil yang mana paling kurang tu, itulah yang dia akan multiplykan that animal. Maksudnya melalui proses breeding lah. So that kita akan ada genetically yang lembu-lembu yang mengurangkan ataupun yang mengeluarkan methane yang kurang kepada alam sekitar. Right. Second point, deforestation. So macam tadi, kita mau buat ladang baru ataupun expansion of the grazing or feed production area. So sometimes we cannot run from deforestation. We cannot avoid deforestation. So basically agriculture and deforestation ni memang highly related lah, especially in tropical region lah. But sometimes orang putih ni dia always highlight on the tropical countries ataupun macam area Malaysia lah. Malaysia, Indonesia, Brazil, apa semua benda gitu kan. Tetapi dia orang punya deforestation lagi besar untuk tanam jagung, untuk tanam soya dan sebagainya. But they keep advocate that the tropical countries always carry out deforestation for livestock farming or agriculture. That's something yang still in debating, and we are rebut all the accusation from the Western countries, right? So next, for the water use, livestock production requires substantial water resources for growing feed crops and maintaining livestock, contributing to water scarcity and pollution. So that's why in doing the farming, whatever animals, so you have to find the water source first. Either it's near to the river, lake, or any water source, but we have to know how to manage to eradicate or to reduce the pollution back to the water source, right? All right. Again, previously we're talking about the water usage, and now on the water pollution and ammonia emission. So any discharge of manure and wastewater from the livestock operation can pollute the water bodies that highly impacting the aquaculture or the aquatic ecosystem and the biodiversity. So have you heard about the carbon, the algae bloom? So algae bloom ni disebabkan oleh juga ammonia yang tinggi lah dalam any water system or any water bodies, right? So another things, if the pollutions are quite severe, so these ammonia emission from the livestock also contribute to the air pollution and the acid rains lah. Basically kalau from the water, it will cause the acid rain as well. Tapi sebenarnya kes ni jarang-jarang, bukan jarang lah, very low, low chances lah yang akan terjadi berbanding dengan kilang. Okay. Next, land degradation. So the overgrazing can lead to the soil erosion and degradation, reducing the land ability to support plant life and water infiltration. So previously in Malaysia, we practice integration livestock or the cattle with the oil palm plantation, but somehow these big company from the oil palm plantation, they barred all the activities of integrating animals in their farming lah, kan? This is due to the compaction of the soil. So bila lembu yang banyak yang tidak terkawal tu, actually for one cattle it require 8 acre for the integration, right? But we cannot manage them. So because of they cannot manage the population of the cattle, so it caused the compaction of the soil in the oil palm plantation, and then it caused the low water infiltration and also the absorption of the fertilizers. So that's why banyak ladang ataupun banyak company yang dah melarang untuk melakukan integrasi bersama what we call bersama ternakan. Okay. Alright. Next, biodiversity and biodiversity loss. So the expansion of livestock farming and a conversion of the land for grazing can lead to the habitat loss and fragmentation, threatening the biodiversity. For example, previously kalau dekat ladang belakang tu, sebelum ada ladang Probest tu, dia adalah adalah hutan, secondary forest. Then after that, they buat land clearing, planting the banana trees kan. Lepas tu sebelum tanam pisang tu, dia adalah secondary forest, di mana dalam tu banyak biodiversity yang you boleh tengok lah. Ada flora, ada fauna, ada juga orang kata apa, memang habitats for monyet, babi dan sebagainya lah, ular dan sebagainya. Then after that, bila dia buat land clearing, tanam pisang, it's changed the biodiversity of the flora. Definitely change. Okay. And then after that, bila dah tanam pisang tu fail repeatedly because of serangan babi yang banyak, babi dan monyet. So dia orang pun tak nak buat lah tanam pisang kat situ, dan kita ambil alih untuk buat kandang kambing. So bila buat kandang kambing dekat situ, of course the change the other biodiversity sekali lagi. So this figure shows two types. First, the bar chart, and then the second, the pie chart. So both charts telling us about the average waste production per animal per category. So you can see different kind of animal compared to human, right? So which animal produce the largest waste in this world? So definitely the cattle lah, kan? Then after that, we go to the pie chart. We can see the animal manure contribute 36%, 34% for municipal solid waste. Ini adalah taman-taman perumahan ataupun tempat orang duduk lah. Okay, waste daripada manusia. And then agro-industrial waste, daripada kilang ke, ladang ke, yang lain-lain, 30%. So these data came from the Western researcher. So at the beginning of the lecture, we want to differentiate between the type of the livestock waste. So what I've mentioned before is the solid waste and also the liquid waste. So we can see the manure and the urine productions. You can differentiate between these two kind of waste. And then we have the wastewater from the cleaning and processing, solid waste, bedding, feed residues, and mortality of the carcass from the animals, chemicals, contaminants, antibiotics, hormone, and pesticides, right? So these two pictures showed that the utilization of waste, so commonly practiced in the farm, we use the solid waste or we decompose to fertilize the fodder, kan? And then the second picture yang sebelah kanan ni, di India selalunya digunakan sebagai bahan bakar ataupun diguna sebagai dia buat dinding rumah, bumbung rumah daripada najis lembu yang dah dikeringkan. So yang ni yang digunakan lah. So these are the process, manure and urine production, how they are disintegrate. Then we have 3 sedimentation ponds before we release the water to the water bodies. And next, solid waste, bedding, feed residue, or mortalities. So kalau tengok gambar di sebelah kiri itu adalah shallow burial with carbon diagram. So kalau ada ternakan yang mati, carcass, either we incinerate, but for the large animal, it's hard to incinerate them. Then we bury, okay? Kita akan tanam dia, dan dia ada standard lah untuk mengikut, kalau ikut MyGap punya standard untuk kita nak tanam carcass ni. And then kita kena, seingat saya lah, 1.5 meter dalam, and then dia layerkan dengan tanah, lepas tu layer balik dengan kapur. Kapur ni adalah kalsium karbonat lah. Okay, calcium carbonate. And then tanah balik, dia kena buat 3 layer. I mean tanah, calcium carbonate, layer tu tanah balik, lepas tu kapur balik, tanah balik, kapur balik, tanah balik. Gitulah dia punya layer dia. Okay. And sometimes when the farm is quite near to the water bodies, to the natural water bodies, especially macam di tepi-tepi sungai, di tepi tasik, ataupun di, for example dekat Kelantan ni, kebanyakannya pakai air boring. Kebanyakan pakai air boring tanah tu kan. Jadi dia ada potential of contamination from the compost licit. So contohlah dah tanam dah lembu dekat sini, tapi dekat dalam 100 meter ataupun 50 meter daripada tempat kita tanam lembu ni ada salur pipe yang air boring. Jadi kemungkinan waste ataupun degradation of the carcass ni nanti akan produce the licit yang akan infuse ataupun masuk dalam salur air bawah tanah tu. So ini satu benda yang perlu ambil perhatian lah, especially orang-orang yang menggunakan air boring. Okay, next, another waste, chemical contaminants, antibiotic, hormone and pesticides. Usually either we bury them ataupun kita akan ada satu disposal schedule yang bermaksud kita tempatkan semua benda penggunaan antibiotik, botol-botol antibiotik, botol hormon, botol pesticide, anything we put in one container. Then after that we have to dispose this waste guna company lah, guna company yang macam Redicare, apa lagi company yang biasanya yang kita selalu nampak adalah Redicare lah. So the service. So kalau dekat UMK sekalipun, chemical yang expired akan ditempatkan satu tempat dan this company yang buat servis untuk dispose ni yang akan datang ambil dan dispose lah. Kita tak boleh nak dispose sendiri sebenarnya, sepatutnya lah, because of nanti akan ada contamination of antibiotic, pesticide or hormone in the soil. Then after that the animals pula makan, and then it will affect the human well-being as well. Right, this is one of the example chamber yang ataupun container yang kita buat untuk di ladang lah. Waktu saya dekat ladang dulu, dia ada satu tempat yang di dekat tempat dengan waste tu, mana-mana jarum yang digunakan, botol ubat, segalalah kita akan letak dalam satu baldi ni, then this container akan dispose melalui company yang saya sebut tadi lah. Alright, next, what if we do not manage the waste properly, right? So definitely it will impact the environment, and it causes the water pollutions, like I mentioned before, the eutrophication ataupun kita panggil sebagai algae bloom, contamination with pathogens in the water, whatever, and then air pollution, the ammonia, methane, and hydrogen sulfide emission that can reduce or deplete the ozone, that can cause the global warming, soil degradation, nutrient overload, sanitation, tadi kita dah mention sebenarnya, and then the odor nuisance and community relation. So kadang-kadang ada kandang lah, especially ayam lah kan, bila orang bela ayam ni dia akan selalu bising dengan bau busuk, lalat, dan juga masalah manusia lah yang akan affect kan, dari segi kesejahteraan hidup mereka tu. So jadi benda tu kadang-kadang ladang tu dah buat kat jauh dah, and then dalam few 5-10 years later akan ada taman-taman perumahan pula. So bila taman perumahan dibuat tu pada waktu tu, ikut akta di Malaysia, ladang tu yang kena pindah because it close to the housing estate. So itulah undang-undang yang ada sekarang dekat Malaysia. The principle of environmental management, livestock farms. Okay? So there are lots of regulatory frameworks and standards. For example, EU, EPA, and in Malaysia we have MyGap. Kan? So follow je benda tu, ataupun tak guna MyGap pun kita ada dengan DOE, Department of Environment. So benda ni memang musuh lah. DOE musuh kepada livestock farming. Sometimes uh, menyampah dengan DOE ni, tapi buat macam mana, itu dia punya kerja kan, untuk menjaga alam sekitar. Alright, so for the best management practice, proper housing design, nano storage and handling, which is we learn during the practical, nutrient management planning, biosecurity measure. So this chart show the waste utilization from problem to resource. So basically it shows the graphical overview of the livestock manure management practices commonly used all over the globe. So yang ni boleh jadi practice lah. Right, for this slide, this extension from the previous slide, how waste manage, how we manage the waste, right? So the first composting, second anaerobic digestions, and previously I saw many groups during the assignment task. You did the waste utilization and you try to convert from the waste to wealth, and you mentioned about the compost and anaerobic digestion, which is really, really good. Okay, we continue on the land applications due to recycling or soil health improvement, and now we call something apa nama dia? Carbon sequestration. Okay, carbon sequestration ni saya tak tahu lah bahasa Melayu dia apa, tapi dia macam menangkap karbon di udara lah, di atmosphere. For example lah, kita dah buat land clearing 1 ekar, and then we have to plant another 1 acre to replace the releasing of the carbon waktu tu dekat situ. For example, dekat belakang kita dah buat 1 ekar, and then kita tanam lagi 10 ekar pokok-pokok yang merangkap karbon yang tinggi. For example, buluh kan, dan beberapa pokok lain saya pun tak pasti, tapi yang saya tahu pokok buluh memang merangkap karbon yang tinggi. Di Sibu, dia orang tanam, tak silap saya, dekat 200 hektar di Sibu, bawah Universiti Teknologi Sarawak. Dia tanam 200 hektar pokok buluh sahaja for the carbon sequestration. So this is how we want to compensate the loss of the carbon that we use for the agriculture or the livestock farming lah. And then yang D tu innovative technologies, ni macam-macam lah, insect farming. Ada juga saya baca dalam you punya assignment tu, ada yang pakai apa nama tu, BSFL and those thing lah. Vermicompost pun ada. That's really, really good. Alright, with that, thank you. But before that, I would like you guys to just a quick recap on the identification of the various type of livestock farm waste component in this lecture or in during the practicals sessions. And then second, you must know how what are the methods of the waste utilization that promote environmental sustainability in the livestock system. I think with that, thank you so much. See you again.